It's easily the best Marvel movie in years, and that's a good thing because it ushers in a new phase of the MCU. Let's talk Thunderbolts. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my very spoiler-free review for the new movie Thunderbolts. If you haven't seen this one yet, don't worry. I'm going to be very tight lipped in my review here. We're not really going to get into hardly any of the plot stuff, just a very basic overview. And this is a Marvel movie that you don't need to have done a lot of homework for. You don't need to have watched, 4 shows and 10 movies and whatever to follow along. Essentially, as long as you have seen Black Widow, or just have a cursory knowledge of what happens in the movie Black Widow, I think you'll be okay. Maybe it would be nice to see the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show, but they kind of spoon feed you all of the information from that that you would need to follow along the plot here. So, and yeah, there's a couple of references to the Hulk and whatever else, but as long as you sort of know who those people are. Like, it doesn't really affect the plot that much. So you can go into this one pretty fresh, which is nice because a lot of these recent ones, man, you've had to do a lot of homework for, and I'm sort of over that. But in any event, hey, we'll talk about all this here shortly. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a Dan Reviews It subscriber already, thank you so much for that. Love it when you guys return and check out my stuff. If you're not, though, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell so you get the alerts for all my video drops. And, of course, just liking or commenting on this video aids the YouTube algorithm in helping people find my videos as well. So I certainly appreciate those things also. All right, so let's talk about Thunderbolts. So I said up front, this is easily the best Marvel movie in years, and boy, is that accurate. They've been very lackluster recently. I mean, really since Endgame. Endgame was so great and such a pinnacle, a culmination of dozens of films. And then you had the Spider-Man movie after that, with all of the old Spider-Man coming back. That was pretty great. But everything other than that has been real lackluster. I mean, you had Thor: Love and Thunder, which I really didn't care for. Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, which I gave, I think, a C, maybe a C plus if I was being generous that day. And then like the latest Ant-Man movie and the latest Captain America movie, like, some of them have been okay, some of them have been not good, but none of them have been even very good or certainly great. This one doesn't fall in the great category, but I think very good for sure. And essentially, like I said, I'm not really going to talk much plot, so I'll just tell you that this is about a group of anti-heroes caught in a deadly trap and forced to work together on a dangerous mission. And the reason they are all together in the same place at the same time is because of the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character. Now, we have seen her pop up just sort of sprinkled into a few different movies and shows, end credit sequences, whatever, but obviously building to something. But like, what is it? What's her deal? And here in Thunderbolts, we finally really get a good chunk of Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. She is the director of the CIA in this universe. And you have Sebastian Stan here as Bucky, too. And he's obviously been a huge part of the MCU for a long time. But again, I think as long as you have sort of a passing knowledge of who that character is, I think you'll be all right. And they kind of fill you in anyway, I think, on things that you might need to know. They talk a little bit about what happened in the last Captain America movie and what have you. But yeah, so you also have Wyatt Russell, who was in the Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show. He plays John Walker here. But the main character here, and the reason you probably should watch Black Widow or at least read up on it, is Florence Pugh as Yelena. She is sort of the new Black Widow, as she was anointed, in that movie. And she was trained as a Black Widow assassin, so she's got some real firepower behind her. And we also have Olga Kurylenko, as another assassin, and Lewis Pullman, who is, by the way, unrecognizable. In Top Gun, he was sort of like the nerdy guy, with the glasses, and he had a different hairstyle, and he looked completely different. This guy here is also, I guess you could kind of call him a nerd or whatever, outcast certainly. But boy, I did not realize this was Lewis Pullman until the end credits. So good on him for giving us such a different character. I mean, I don't know a ton about his acting career. I know he's Bill Pullman's son, and I know he was in Top Gun Maverick, but this is something completely different from what I've ever seen from him. And then David Harbour reprises his role from Black Widow as well as Red Guardian. So all right, that's really all we'll get into there. So in terms of why is this movie so much better than a lot of the recent Marvel films, there's a few reasons. For one thing, it doesn't rely heavily on these CGI worlds. Like in Ant-Man, was that called Quantumania? The third Ant-Man movie, I mean, almost the entire movie was basically just on a green screen with CGI. It was, an okay movie with the plot and everything, but it was a little bit distracting. It didn't look all that great. And then, you could say the same thing about some of the other recent ones, like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and Thor Love and Thunder. They all sort of had massive, massive, like, okay, we're just, Thor makes sense because, of course, he's a god in a different world anyway, but just the heavy, heavy use of kind of not great CGI isn't really present here. Yes, obviously there is some CGI at play, certainly in the fight scenes, but, in some of the other moments as well. But this movie is more about the character development and character pasts that we learn sort of as we go along. Obviously, if you saw Black Widow, you know a little bit about the past of Yelena, but some of these other characters, maybe not as much. And so that leads me into another reason that this one is really a step above or two steps above many of the recent ones, is that it deals with some real serious issues as well. This could be one of the darkest movies in the MCU for the reason that they are really, really heavily focusing on past trauma here and dealing with it in a really interesting way. Now, look, I'm not sure that that kind of stuff will appeal to the youngest demographic watching this movie, but I would say, I mean, my nephew that I took is 13, so he's right in that sort of on the cusp of like that angsty wheelhouse. I think that's real relatable for anybody of maybe that age or higher. Now, the littler kids that are going to go to this movie, maybe not so much. They might not get as much out of it as the adults watching. But I really think, and it's part of the plot. And again, we won't go into any more detail than that. But things are dealt in a very, very interesting and a very real way that I think we have not seen in a while from Marvel. And then you've got the humor aspect of it too, which is obviously the other side of sort of the darker aspect of this movie. I think some of the recent Marvel movies, certainly Thor Love and Thunder, relied way too heavily on humor, gags, and really most of them didn't land. Here, there's a lot of humor, at least like dry humor and sort of sarcastic humor, but it's not overpowering. It really goes with whatever character is saying it, and because they've been through much, yes, they've been, they have this sort of harder outer shell, so they are going to be, a little bit sarcastic. And I'm not saying these are like, fourth wall breaking gag jokes like Deadpool movies, but and I will say, look, Deadpool and Wolverine, yes, that was a great movie as well, or at least a good one. I gave that a B. But this is even better than that for sure. By the way, even though I guess that sort of counts for the MCU. I know the first Deadpool movie was sort of not in the MCU, sort of it was, whatever. But yes, this is even better than Deadpool and Wolverine in my opinion. So yeah, it all comes together, and Florence Pugh is so fantastic as Yelena. I love that they're giving this character more to do, and really, this is an ensemble piece, and everybody works together well. But I would say that if there's one star of the movie, it probably is Florence Pugh, and I think that's a good way to go. She's a great actress, and can do many different genres of film, as we've seen. There are some negatives here. There's obviously some of the typical sort of fighting sequence at the end that we see in a lot of the Marvel movies, but because of the trauma aspect of it all, even that gets a little bit original, or a lot original, really, from things that we've seen in the past in the MCU. So I have to give it credit for that as well. Now, David Harbour's Russian accent. Don't know about that one too much. It's like watching Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins do the really like thick laid on was that Cockney, I guess he's supposed to be doing. It's a little bit like that, but we love David Harbour, so we give it a bit of a pass. But no, listen, this movie is really good, and it sets up the next phase. We're going to start that with the Fantastic Four movie coming in, I think, July. Or maybe that's late June. And then in August, there's a new Disney Plus TV show that will kick off the TV version of Phase 6. So, yes, this is the official ending of Phase 5 and opening the door to Phase 6. And I think it's a good way to go, because it actually made me excited again for these Marvel movies. It's been quite a few years since I really felt anything but like, oh, okay, another Marvel movie I got to go see. Cool. But no, now I'm actually kind of excited about what the future of this franchise holds, and that is certainly a good thing. I leave Thunderbolts with a B+, and of course you can check that out in theaters now. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time.